Oh yeah, that's right. Hydro issues. Everything's torn apart right now. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Welcome back to Phoenix, Arizona, and welcome to another video. Today's video might not be a popular one, but it is an important one. The car now has coilovers, it has a angle kit up front, it has rear camber and tow arms, and I have yet to align it. Now when it comes to alignment, yes, you know, you can always take your car to just any old shop and have them align it, but I have a feeling that if I were to take this to the local, you know, Firestone or, you know, whatever auto service, they would probably look at the angle kit, the camber arms, scratch their head and be like, yeah, we can align that, and it probably won't go so well. So I have done a little bit of my own due diligence, mainly on some local Facebook groups. There's an Arizona Drift Facebook group, and one guy came highly recommended. Pat Reynolds is his name. He is an English teacher by trade, but on the weekends he has become kind of the guy to know when it comes to drift alignments in the Phoenix, Scottsdale area. So I'm gonna go to him today and have the car aligned. I will tell you guys up front, this video is probably gonna be a little bit longer, but it will be content rich. So I'd say sit back, relax, and enjoy Alignment 101 with me and Pat Reynolds. Is this where the hot boys come to get their drift alignment right?
I don't know about that, but...
What's up, man?
Not much, how are you?
Good, man. Good to finally meet you.
Yeah.
What do you got rocking here?
Just a turbo Miata.
No big deal.
Yeah.
I can barely fit in these things. I tried one time. And...
Well, we're like the same height.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know how
There's tricks.
There's tricks to get in and out?
Yeah. It's actually not that bad. Even in its current setup.
Sure.
It's alright.
I like your shifter.
Oh, thanks.
It's all ripped up in there right now because I'm working on the hydro, so. But I think they're either in the ignition or on the seat. She's a little wonky on the road, right?
I've driven worse.
Yeah, that's good. Stock arms, and then it's got that GK Tech angle kit on there, so I don't know if that's considered like a knuckle or what, but.
Yeah.
And then the back has camber and tow arms and coilovers.
And you're happy with your ride height and everything?
Yeah, I love the ride height.
I just ask people that because some people will come to me and they're like, oh, I want to like lower it 2 inches when you're done. And I'm like, well, you're going to ruin everything I just did.
Yeah, no, right. I love the ride height right now.
Okay. Mostly street car, 50-50.
Yeah, we're probably talking like 75% street, 25% drift, where I would just take it out to the track for, you know, one of the drift and drag events or whatever, and try and. I'm just learning right now. Like I couldn't even do it the first time I did it. So.
Okay. Easy enough.
So daily drifter is what is kind of the philosophy of use for it.
Okay, that's fine. I can set it up pretty mildly where it will be good. These are easy, really, for the most part, to set up and to drive.
Cool.
Which is funny because I've actually never drifted one, but I hear nothing but good things about them, and I drive them all the time, and almost always they align really well. Like, I feel like these and Miatas are probably the easiest cars that I align.
And then I got one subscriber who was really curious. He was like, hey, you should get the pre-measurements to see how off it is. Like, if possible. It's not a huge deal, but if you have any idea what they might be prior to. How long did it take you to learn how to drift?
An event?
Oh boy.
Events?
I'm thinking it's going to take me like 8 events.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's all progression.
So what do you got going on there? That's just the...
This is the camber gauge, so it will tell us where your camber is set. But I had a dude show up with like 1.5 inches of toe out in the front and the rear.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I set toe to like anywhere between a 1/16 and like 1/4 inch.
Okay.
So we had 3 times as much toe as needed, and in the rear that'll make the car really unstable. The car will want to just drive
everywhere
to wherever it wants. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like 1.5 degrees in the front.
1.5 degrees of toe.
Negative camber.
Negative camber. Okay.
Yep.
These I know are different because I messed up with I actually did this one first, I think, and I noticed it was way out, so on the other one I cranked on the camber arm, I think, a little bit, and it looks a little bit better, but...
Okay, well that explains why it drives crooked then, so that's good.
I got to ask you real quick, how did you get so good at this? Just did your car first and then started doing everyone else's, or?
Yeah, pretty much, and like I'm a teacher, so...
English, right?
Yeah. So one summer I didn't have any work, and what I was doing for work, like there just wasn't anything to do. So I was trying to figure out how I was going to make my money last me to the end of the summer. And a buddy used to have a friend of mine do his alignments. And I had all the stuff to do it. And I was like, well, you know, I do my own race car. Like, I can do yours. So I went over to this dude's house and helped him out, and he paid me for it, and just kind of have gotten better and learned at it along the way. And now it's like 3 years I've been doing other people's alignments.
And you are now the drift specialist.
I guess. It's a good problem to have, I think.
For sure. Yeah. It's a good little side gig.
So you have almost 3 degrees of negative camber on this side.
Okay.
So I would say...
And you're probably not able to see toe in and toe out on this, or?
No, that's only camber.
Okay.
Actually, probably dead nuts at 0.
Yeah, no, I thought this one I did pretty good on, actually. But yeah, when I finished this one and dropped it back on the ground, I was like, oh yeah, I messed that up big time. These are toe plates?
Yeah.
I was always curious how this works. So you put one on each side and then like attach the tape measure to it or something?
Yeah, and basically
Got him.
So you basically are looking to see what the distance is from the front of the wheel to the front of the wheel and the rear of the wheel to the rear of the wheel.
Okay.
And by doing that, you determine, is it towed in, is it towed out, or is it 0?
Okay.
Now within that, you know, the real proper way to do a race alignment is you set up a box of string around it based on the measurements off the frame rail, and you make the box square with the frame so that when you measure the distance from here to the string, you know it's the same here and on the same there. So this, you know, if say you had a 1/4 inch of toe in, it might actually be this wheel's towed in a 1/4 inch and this wheel is straight.
Okay.
But it will tell you, oh, it's a 1/4 inch difference. It might not be perfectly even.
Sure.
I have done this enough that I can get away without setting up a box and getting them straight and then setting total toe. But that's a trade secret.
That's level 100 night elf stuff.
Yeah. So that side's probably towed out. So what happens is this wheel's pointing this way, and so it's pulling the back of the car out, and so it's pointing your left that way.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh god.
I can see it's towed, like it's pointing
It's way in.
in, yeah.
So this is 72 3/4, and that's 71 5/8. So it's almost, it's an inch and an eighth in. Yikes. Alright, so your toe's way off.
Okay, good to know.
The toe will make it drive like shit. And that's the thing, dude, is like, I do a lot of cars, and people just like throw on all the suspension stuff and they eyeball it. And they're like, oh, and then they go drifting. And I'm like, what the fuck?
I threw it all on, eyeballed it, went drifting, and then I'm like, and I was talking to you the whole time too. I was like, hey man, but I want to do this, but I want to do this. Like I wanted to get the hydro on, and I wanted to get the dual caliper on, and before I did it. So yeah, I mean, it was, you know, I was probably one of those guys, but.
Well, like I have friends that have been doing it for years, and they've always just like eyeballed it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, the fact that you're fucking remotely good blows my mind, because
you're just
this
eyeballing
car is dog shit. Like, this is awful, and whatever. Good. I mean, props to you. So I'm like, all right. Jeez.
Yeah, I know. I need some new tires. Those went quick. They're soft.
But you know what? That's the way to go. Don't put like some shitty all seasons on it. Just leave something grippy. I've worked on a decent number of like competitive drift teams, and I've just learned what tips and tricks, what problems you're going to run into, what's going to make your life hard that you won't necessarily notice as like a beginner or even seasoned people. Like I'm always surprised what problems I encounter on even competitive cars. I was doing a like Pro-Am car yesterday, and there's things I'm like, oh, you haven't done this or this or that. Like these are all things that are causing you problems, and you know this dude's competing at like a Pro-Am level. And even last year I worked on a Pro 2 team. We got to Atlanta and we ran into all kinds of problems. Like, how have you not done all of these things yet? Like you've gotten this, you got a Pro 2 license, and you've got like you didn't hammer your pinch welds down in the wheel. And I'm like, oh my God. So anyway, like I always try to point out to people like what things I see that are going to cause you problems and try to just give you a direction to what to do next as far as suspension goes.
Yeah, anything you see, tell me, and I'll get it done.
And then usually when I finish too, I'll send you a message with all your specs.
Okay.
And if I think of it, I'll send you like a laundry list of these are the things I said you should look at.
Okay.
Before you go drifting again. Or not like they're gonna, I mean, sometimes it's like, this is gonna kill you, you should fix this. Yeah. And then sometimes it's like, this is just gonna make your car better.
Sure. And it's the movement in the lower control arm that you're talking about?
Yeah. It, like pivots forward and backwards. I've never seen that.
I think it's normal.
Sure.
I don't know, maybe not. It could be because of those control arms. Or not the control arms, but those that ankle kit.
No. That's just your tie rod pickup. So, whatever. It's fine.
Hopefully.
I've never seen these before.
What is it?
They're like tie rod clips.
Oh, on the boots or whatever?
Yeah.
Is this like the recentering of the rack, or what's going on right now?
No, I'm just adding toe out.
So it's like a game of inches where you just gotta adjust, jack up, jack down.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I tell people 3 to 4 hours on like a typical car.
Yeah.
But then I run into really fucked up cars all the time.
I'll have to get your opinion on where my angle kit is hitting before we're done here too. It hits where the angle kit meets the bottom of the strut or the coilover right now. And I took, because I don't have the factory bump stops in, I can put them in, I have them, but
right.
I wasn't that impressed with that angle after I put that ankle kit on. Not that I need a bunch, I don't really know what I'm doing, but it's like the snowboarder who goes out and buys the nicest bindings and boots he can find and doesn't know how to ride. See, on that side right now, it's probably clearing, but over here it's hitting. And then vice versa, if you switch it the other way, it'll hit on that side. Now the bolt head on the coilover will hit
This?
Yeah, it'll hit like the rose joint on the angle kit.
Yeah, I don't think that's that big a deal. That's like a natural bump stop. Where like if it were hitting here
On the rim?
on like the tie rod,
Oh yeah,
I'd be worried about it. I don't think that's that big a deal.
Cool.
You have bigger problems with your wheel size.
Tire size or the offset or what?
Yeah, offset and tire size. You need to have a lower offset because you're hitting your sway bar.
So spacers then?
Yeah.
Okay.
But then you run into wheel fitment issues.
Right.
So that's like when I think I was telling you, I think alignments are all about compromise. Like, do you want good tire wear on the street? Do you want a competitive car? Do your wheels fit? You know, do you have enough power to make a lot of grip? Like, it's just a series of compromises depending on like a limitless amount of things.
Right. Where do you want to draw the line?
Yeah, and that's hard to explain to people. And maybe I like alignments because I'm an English teacher and I tell everybody like English is great because there's no right or wrong answer. Alignments are kind of that way where like if you can justify why you're doing what you're doing, you can be right.
Okay.
And like alignment too, you know, everybody looks up like, oh, what are the golden specs? Like, oh, I read these online and this is what I want. But they don't know why they want that. They just read about it and they're like, yeah, this is perfect. But, you know, if you go to the pro grid, there are people running different things and setting their cars up differently because of how they drive or what they like in a car.
Right. It's like, again, I go back to snowboarding. It's like your bindings, how they stand on the board. Like,
Yep.
some guys like to stick that back foot way out, way in, whatever.
Cars are complex. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you I understand everything. More than one way to skin a cat, is that what they say?
Yep.
So,
More than one way to align a car.
for sure. So, you know, when you get a car, wherever the wheel sits, when you're driving straight, you start from there. And I always go basically to lock, which is about there. And just kind of take note of the angle, right? So it's, on this car, it's 1 full rotation, 1 1/4, 1 and, you know, some change, right?
Sure.
So a little more than 1 1/4. So then I'll go back to center, and then I'll go 1 rotation, and just a little bit past 1/4, right? So there's 1/4, and with the flex, there's like, I think that joint that hits, but once you do that, it gets to about where it is. So yours is center. But that's almost the first thing I always check, because if you have to recenter a rack, it throws where your toe is way off.
And for my education, recentering the rack, is that done down below, or is that taking the hub off and just changing the hub angle on the?
You can
on the
do it
short
in
hub?
both,
Cool.
and it like blows a lot of people's minds. But it's just one spline connected all the way to the steering rack.
Right.
So I always do it here at the hub.
Yeah. So if you've got a center dot on your spline, just
Yep.
move it over a spline, and then you're okay. Cool.
Yep.
I didn't know if it was
And
that
so
easy. or
then,
not.
like, you know, maybe once you recenter it, when you're driving straight, it's like this. You can change this with the toe of the car.
Okay.
By, you know, if it's 0, if the wheels are parallel. Whenever it's like this, it means the wheels need to go this direction. So
Okay.
if you're driving straight, you know, if this is straight, when you go this way, they're pointed too far that way.
Okay.
So you need to bring them back to the passenger side. So I just remember it. And this took me like 2 years to remember. But if it's pointing this way, that's what direction the front of the tires
Needs to go. That's cool.
I'm going to be giving out all my secrets.
Don't worry. I don't think most people have the ability to take action.
With toe plates or access to toe plates come with more fucked up alignments than people that just bring it to me after they install stuff. Like, it's really easy to get wrong unless you know what you're doing. I'm working with 16ths and 32nds of an inch.
Right.
And that takes a lot of time to just kind of learn what adjustments do what. And I'm getting to a point now, you know, 3 years into doing alignments a couple times a month, where I can pretty much eyeball a car. I know about how many turns on a tie rod I need to go for whatever distance. Repetition has taught me a lot.
Sure.
Did you flip these at one point? Or is this just
No.
the wear that you're getting?
That's the wear I'm getting. Looks like it's wearing on the outside just a little bit more than on the inside, maybe.
Yeah. Just kind of weird. I mean, we'll see what it looks like after I align it. But you might benefit from doing like an adjustable upper or lower control arm where you can get some camber into the car.
Okay.
Because if you're wearing that outside edge, it's leaning on the outside, so it's too positive. So you need something that will get you to here. Because at lock, when you turn the wheel naturally leans over.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
So you could be steering in and just riding on this edge.
Well, they make a ton of them out there. The adjustable camber arm for the front. So.
And if you do that, tell me before you install them
Okay.
so I can help you. Because I also get people that buy arms and set them up wrong, and they make my job twice as hard because their arms aren't right.
If we do upper camber arms, I'll make you a deal. We'll do it together and make another video.
Sure.
Solid.
Yeah, I just did a car that did upper camber arms on these, and it worked really well. Got him what he wanted.
Right on. And you set it way in so that when you go hard lock, it kind of levels the whole front tire out, probably.
Yeah, it should be pretty close.
That makes sense. So then when it's at full angle,
Yeah.
gotcha. So ideally in the rear, like, and this is generally speaking, you'd want 0 camber, 0 toe.
That really is dependent chassis to chassis. You always want a little bit in. How much varies wildly. Z's like this don't really need a lot to have good grip for how much power they make.
Okay. So you're just making fine adjustments to the tie rod right now, right?
Just kind of getting it eyeball close, and then I'll do a fine adjustment after.
Ron, if I put like a 5mm spacer on there, you think that would be about right, or would that?
Like 15.
Oh, you need that much, huh?
I mean, you've got all this room and your fenders aren't even rolled yet.
Yeah.
So if you roll your fenders, I mean, that's probably 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. Half is like 15 mil.
Okay.
So you could do like 15 or 20.
That one's in. Bottom line, right?
Yep.
Okay, you're in.
And just make sure that you like, it looks centered with the wheel.
Okay. It's flat against the wheel. Looks centered.
We're exactly an inch. What, 3,000 mile tires?
Yeah. Probably 3 to 4,000 is what's on them right now.
There's a noticeable depth difference between the inner and the outer.
Right.
So what happens is if you're driving and you've got, toe in, what's happening is your car is constantly trying to roll the tread of the tire over, and you're just basically scrubbing and dragging that down the road for those, 1,000 miles you have that alignment.
Yeah.
So on like a soft, sticky NT05, it's not that surprising to see it. And what sucks is how much were these little tire? $250.
They were a good deal. I think I paid like $180. It was an eBay thing. I bought them on eBay.
$150 down the drain.
Right, yeah.
In 3,000 miles.
Yeah.
So get your cars aligned, kids. Like on a Z, 235 is probably a good front tire size like you have. And then in the rear, probably like a 235 also.
Yeah, 235 is the cheaper one is why I went with it, but I know a lot of guys run a 265, but...
Yeah, it's too, like, how much grip do you want,
Right. Yeah, you almost want to run a fine line between not enough.
We went from an inch to an eighth, so that's not too bad.
Quick update, we are zeroed in the front. We'll test drive it in a little bit. We're gonna zero the back first, or second I should say. Test drive it and then go from there. It's got ISR, camber, and tow arms. And then it's got that eccentric lockout kit. I don't know if you ever play with those or not, but
Usually I set them to one position so that if something changes you can tell.
Okay.
But the lockout kits are pretty nice.
Yeah,
so you don't have to worry about slipping eccentrics.
Yeah, those are all locked out now, so I would assume the adjustability is all just in the arms, right?
Yep. This thing was like the best purchase I ever made. Oh man, you were so close.
I was. Dang. It was like 3 a.m. one night, 4 a.m. one night, and I had finished the other side, and I could tell it was all screwed up, and then I was like, I'm gonna bolt this, I'm gonna play with this one a little bit. So then a test drive, or?
I gotta do the toe in the rear.
Oh, the toe.
Kept up with Brandon Wicknick, who is like a 500 horsepower JZ S chassis. He's like, I can keep up with him with zero toe in the rear of my Z.
Is he stock, or?
Power, yeah. Yeah, he's just got like the GK type shit on it, like what you have, but
Yeah.
he's like, it just drives nice, it has plenty of grip. So no need to really fuck with that.
Sounds good. Yep. Okay, so we're squared away at 0 front and back test drive time.
Yep.
Let her rip. So Pat's out testing the car right now. It's like a game of inches and millimeters. It's gonna take some fine tweaking, so it might be a while before I come back to you. I'm just gonna kind of let him do his thing. Okay, we're wrapping things up. Car's all squared away, I think in all 4 corners. Pat, I'll let you kind of tell him what you did, what it started out like maybe.
Yeah, the front camber and caster on these cars isn't adjustable unless you have aftermarket arms. So that is all basically the same. So it's still a degree and a half of negative camber. And in the front, I did just a hair amount of toe out. You've got nice grippy tires up front, so it's like a 1/16 of an inch out, toe out in the front, just to give a little bit better steering. But with those NT05s, it feels really lively anyway. Beforehand, obviously camber was the same. Toe, I think you were in a little bit, like 3/8 of an inch in the front, and then in the rear, it was.
Well, we were wonky on the one
Yeah.
side was way worse than the other.
Right, and then once we corrected all the camber, that threw everything off. So your beginning spec, I don't entirely remember in the rear, but it's like 3 degrees negative, and then a degree negative on the other side, and now the rear is zeroed out with those ISR arms. And then toe, it's got like a 1/16 of an inch in. No, I zeroed out toe also. My habit is to put in toe in, but these cars are pretty grippy and don't really need toe in too badly in the rear, unless you want like a super grippy setup. But for a street fun car that hits the track, this is pretty mild, pretty happy setup,
The daily drifter, right?
Yeah.
Sounds good. Pat, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, they're in the Arizona area, they need an alignment for their drift car, where do you want them to reach out? Or do you not want them to reach out?
Facebook's always easiest.
Okay.
I'm on a lot of like the local drifting pages.
Sounds good.
Pat Reynolds, or if they really want to see what I'm about, the Canadian Tuxedo is my Instagram.
Okay, we'll put that in for sure. I love it. All right, sweet man.
Yeah.
Well, appreciate the alignment, and
Of course.
we'll see you around, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I think that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed Alignment 101 with me and Pat Reynolds. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you found it useful. The Z, it's the next day right now, and the Z drives like a completely different car. To say I needed that alignment would be an understatement. Not only does the car drive completely straight right now, but the steering is insane. I've never driven a Ferrari, a Lamborghini. I have driven some Corvettes. The steering on the Z is the nicest steering I have ever felt right now. It is so responsive and quick, and I assume that's due to the alignment. It also could be just because I've been driving around with a horrible alignment in that car for a while now, and my other cars are 98 Grand Cherokees, 99 Eclipse, and a Camry, so it could be that too. In any event, guys, I appreciate you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more. I'll catch you in the next one.